Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for welcoming me here. It's been an absolute pleasure to be in Istanbul, my first time. And I'm the CEO and founder of Inception Growth. This is one of the offshoots of one of my companies, and the simple thing that we do is, as I was just introduced, is take companies from a linear growth to accelerated growth. And I'm going to give you some lessons on how you can do that immediately today with me. So a lot of people call me a growth hacker, or the term growth hacker gets thrown around and used quite a lot. I'm not that comfortable with it, but one of the things I want you to think about is that I do marketing. And for me, there's kind of two types of people that do marketing. There's like, when someone says, you know, can you drive a car? Can I just get a show of hands? Who can drive a car? Yeah? Okay, most people can drive a car. I usually get stuck behind this old lady in virtually every city I go in. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else. She must follow me around. But a lot of people, when they talk about marketing, they either do marketing like the old lady, or they're a Formula One world champion. Now, for me, if I'm called in, you get the Formula One world champion, which is a bit more exciting than being stuck behind Miss Daisy. So, quickly, we're moving on to marketing itself. And it's changed a lot over the years. And one of the things I'm most interested in is that marketing is now a science. We can actually analytically compare what works well and what doesn't. However, this is not enough. As Steve Blank was mentioning earlier, it's important to know that you have a hypothesis that you can test. That hypothesis usually comes through psychology, which is my specialism. And this is what it comes down to. Essentially, you get your hypothesis, and then you have to, well, Stelios did enough swearing earlier for me, but you have to science the shit out of it. You have to go in and look and analyze and try and find out specifically what works and what doesn't through systematic testing. Now, as for the bright and the curious among you, this is not me, and instead of 5 strategies, I couldn't find a guy with 5 arrows. So 6 arrows, and here we go. These are 5 strategies that you can use today, and I would encourage you to, or at least explore them and experiment with them in your company. Find your tipping point. One of the most frequent questions that I get asked by startups who've been coming up to me today and over the past 4 or 5 days is, how can I grow my company quickly? Or I've got like 20 customers, how can I make that 1,000? First thing you've got to do is look at finding exactly who is 1,000 people you can market to straight away. Because you can't really project any kind of growth on a very small number. Quite quickly, Uber, everyone knows Uber. They actually were very, very broad when they aren't where it appears now. However, when they started off, they were actually looking to be very, very detailed on looking at how to grow their company. So they actually went to South by Southwest. I don't know if anyone's been to it. I would highly recommend it. And they actually started to change this impression that they had. Previously, where they were considered as a black cab company for the San Francisco 1%ers. But when they went to South by Southwest, they wanted to start to change that. So they actually started to lay on cabs straight from the airport, ferry people around, and gave an incredible experience for them, which is one of the key things that we'll be talking about today, is that emotional connection. If you haven't read Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans, I sincerely recommend that you do. And just as a point of thought, define your market. There's many people who go out there and just say, I've got a huge market, whoever uses a smartphone, whoever wears shoes. Okay, it's too broad. You need to define it and then seduce that market specifically. A lot of people say, oh, we'll just do a load of advertising, that's bound to work. Well, unfortunately, advertising isn't necessarily enough. There can be some things that go wrong, good old Yahoo. And when Hotmail first started, they were actually originally looking at doing billboard ads and radio advertising. Terrible, terrible idea. The ROI on that is you know, almost through the floor. As a customer acquisition strategy, it just doesn't add up in any way. However, they got creative, and they thought, well, we haven't got that kind of budget. How can we tap in and create some kind of emotional experience that these potential people could enjoy and actually benefit from? So what they did was at the bottom of every email that got sent out using Hotmail to a different email account was they include the line, P.S. I love you, get your free email at Hotmail. That one little thing, and that started the growth. And the reason why is that it was very, very easy to become viral with it. It was a cute little throwaway comment, but it made that person feel a bit warm inside, or it made them feel a bit, huh? What's this guy sending me this for? why is my employee sending this to the boss? I don't understand it. So it was that unexpected, emotional, you were being included in a secret that was very unusual. It's also exclusive, and this is one of the key things with a lot of marketing. It was novel. So up until that point, nothing like this had ever been done, so of course it took off. But then after that came a lot of the copycats. So a lot of people trying a similar kind of thing, and unfortunately it just doesn't work. Okay? Once the novelty has been done once, it's very difficult to replicate it over and over again. Strategic relationships. This is one of the, it's a great, great way to grow your company very, very quickly and very, very cheaply. So one of the things that I kind of recommend to everybody is actually start to look at who already has your market. Rather than trying to force your product or your website or your app into a marketplace and try and define it, see who already has it. This is what obviously Airbed and Breakfast, or Airbnb as we now know them, as they rebranded to at the time, actually hacked Craigslist because they knew that all of their customers were essentially in Craigslist, but they couldn't actually get into it. Believe me, I'm not recommending you actually hire some hackers, although there's probably some good ones in the room. But it's something to consider as being creative on how can you actually get into a market space where you have no traction, but someone else already dominating the market. And even if you don't want to do something as extreme as actually hacking something, actually just reach out, step forward and actually give them an opportunity to connect with you. They don't know who you are and they might be interested. You have to do it in a way that's going to give them value though, and that's a key thing. So one of the things I always say is to develop a foolproof strategy. So if one thing doesn't work, move on to something else, move on to something else, move on to something else. And be cool with it. Everyone wants to do business with nice people, with friends, and I've made some really good friendships and going to do a lot of business with people here today because it's just like, hey, what are you doing? All right. The guys who come up to me who like, this is my business, you got to do it, you blah, 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 blah. I was like, whoa, dude, I'm not interested. So if you like that with me now, you're going to be high energy, and it's going to be a lot of hard work. I prefer an easier life, right? So that's just my opinion. Create a moment of magic with everything that you do, whether it's your advertising, whether it's your marketing, whether it's with the product itself. A lot of people kind of forget this. They kind of forget that we get so wrapped up with the brilliance of the technology, of what we're actually achieving, of what we're actually accomplishing, that we sometimes forget that we need to be creating these little moments of, oh, wow, that's really cool. Someone's on their phone and they go, oh, man, wow, that's really nice. Or when you go for Uber and the car comes along, and there's always that little bit of moment. If the first time you've ever used Uber, and I remember typing it in, and you see the little car come in, and you're like, I don't know, is this going to be a serial killer? Am I going to die? And there's a little moment of disbelief, and then it actually turns up, and you're like, wow, okay, this actually works. And what Uber are very good at doing is that they also control the user experience. And this is something you might want to consider. So they're very good at trying to over-deliver and under-promise. Something you should always try and do, because when you do that, it lowers people's barriers of skepticism about you. And whether you like it or not, every single person is now skeptical of the tech market. Because they're like, oh yeah, here we go, another guy with another multi-million, billion-dollar industry idea. Right. I heard it all before, so it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder for you guys now than it was 5, 10, even 3 or 2 years ago. Okay? So the whole thing you're trying to do is under-promise, over-deliver. And once, for example, Uber, once that they've actually delivered the experience, follow up with it. So follow up with something that reinforces that positive emotional experience that they've had. Because everyone talks about, what makes something go viral, or how can I get more referrals, right? Very, very easy once it's going, but how do you actually get that traction and start to get it moving? A lot of it comes with where you've got the customer has had a positive emotional experience, and then you reinforce it. So that when they see the Uber logo, if they've had a positive experience, they'll go, oh, cool, awesome. They've emailed me something cool. Not just another email saying, get your discount, give us some money, okay? That's not reinforcing a positive experience. And the companies that are doing this best are the most successful companies. They're the ones that are taking over cities. They're the ones that are making billions, okay? If you think about Facebook, for example, it's that ability to connect Not because it's of the clever technology behind it, but because of the emotion of people being able to actually reach out and connect with each other. And that's why it's such a viral marketing machine. So always think about secret emotional experience. I started to mention about something going viral. Everyone's, if I talk to a tech company that says, I ask them, oh, cool, what are you doing for your marketing? He says, oh, we're just going to do some viral marketing. I'm like, oh, God, these guys are going to struggle. Because, there isn't a secret sauce, okay? It's very, very difficult to manufacture something to actually go viral, okay? Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. Otherwise, there would be a textbook somewhere, and everyone would be doing it straight away. There are some tools and strategies and techniques I would suggest, but a lot of it also depends on luck, timing. There may be a particular political wave of movement that actually helps something to go viral, or some background press noise that you can't control, or maybe you can. I'll give you Harry's Shaving Company. So this is a company, I don't know if many of you know over here, but they actually collected 100,000 emails in 1 week as they launched their program just from referrals. Now that's the kind of traction that's actually built them into, I think it's come up to like $1 billion or $500 million company. And it's basically because of the emotional context that all of their customers have with Harry's. And this is what an investor will invest in. They're not going to invest in you necessarily, but that community, that audience that you have access to, and also more importantly, the connection that they have with you. Otherwise, people who spam you would be the richest people on earth, okay? It doesn't happen. So what did Harry's do? Well, essentially, they actually looked at, let's create a fun way that that people who sign up can share our stuff with other people. And they actually gave some giveaways. It was really easy. All you had to do is put your email address in and shot some stuff out to your Twitter account saying, I've just signed up with Harry's, blah, blah, blah. And they would receive an actual physical reward for doing that. And more people who got it shared with, who also came and registered, they would then also get rewards. So it's really simple, and it's a really fun way of doing it. But as with anything, being simple does not mean it's easy. Okay, so these guys actually took 18 months to build up that network so that when it was ready to launch, bang, it exploded. So I've got a little bit of time. So what I'm actually going to give you is how to get in front of any lister. Okay, because obviously there's some amazing investors here today. There's some incredible speakers. And the thing is, well, how do you get in front of them? And like I say, most people just go up screaming, oh my God, I'm not going to say any names, but people want to get in front of people, right? And they want to say, I love this business, you're going to love it. You're just going to absolutely die. All it needs is like 2 minutes to hear the pitch, or 30 seconds, okay? But let's think about it a different way, because if you watch what happens, this is really interesting. So in the bit that's sectioned off for the speakers where they can sit quietly, they sit quietly. They lean in and they have conversations. Or it's a bit of a pitch fest out there, and it's really difficult for someone to take you seriously because you're just shoving a business card in their face. So what can you do today? There was a talk I saw the other day, and the guy talking was really good. He was really accomplished. And he was saying, he would drop an email to this guy who would send an email to the investors. And I was like, man, that's cool. I wish I was in that position. But of course, most of us, we aren't. We don't have that network. We don't have those kind of contacts. So one of the things I'm interested in is how do you actually hack getting in front of a big investor? How do you hack getting in front of a celebrity, someone famous who can listen to you for 5 minutes? And this strategy worked with someone who's worth $500 million, and I got to sit down with him for an hour. And he was happy to. In fact, he said to me, Ross, I've got as much time as you want. So it works. The main thing you want to think of when you're doing this is how can you prime their network through social media channels. Because one trick of psychology is that social proof is extremely persuasive. If someone thinks that everyone is talking about you, they will want to find out who you are. They'll think, I need to take some time and listen and understand what this guy's talking about. So a way to do that is to actually think to yourself and come at it from a slightly reverse engineered perspective by actually saying, why is everyone talking about this guy, and why haven't I met him yet? And work backwards from that. So you kind of want to start placing these little like kind of breadcrumb trail so that it's all around him. And then when you make an initial contact, he's going like, yeah, okay, cool. But the key thing that many people forget is that you have to ask yourself, what's in it for them? I know you're going to get a lot of money out of this business, but what specifically is in it for them? That's pretty much all I've got time for. I want to thank you very much. I've put together a special web page with free resources for everybody. I suggest you go and sign up, take it. And if you want to speak to me, just come up and say hello. Okay? Thank you very much, guys.